Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition or episode of the NKA program, where we educate people on how to stay young while growing old, thereby increasing their life expectancy. And in today's episode, we will be talking on something very interesting, something that people tend to neglect, but it is affecting them in a very, very devastating way, especially in the long run. And mind you, in this podcast, we are focused on how you will stay young while growing old, thereby increasing your life expectancy. Meaning, the things you do today have a potential to impact your health negatively in the near future. So with me today in the studio, we have a very, very important and vibrant young man who is a specialist in what he does. He is somebody I have known for some time, and he is very, very good at what he does. Hello, Mr. Bide.
Hello, Mr. Clifford.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, thank you. I'm very happy to be on this particular podcast today to share my knowledge, my experiences. I believe one or two persons are going to learn from what we're going to discuss today.
Thank you, and we are very happy to have you today. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest, Mr. Bide Nelson. So I would like Mr. Bide Nelson to introduce himself.
All right, like you all have heard, I'm called Bide Nelson. I'm a software engineer, I'm a teacher, I'm a lecturer, and I'm also into relationship. Relationship is one of the things that I have a lot of passion in. My primary focus is to ensure that people get the right knowledge when it comes to relationship that will help to build their life, enhance their life, and enhance their relationship as well. As you grow old, there is a lot of things you need to know that will help you to remain young while you grow old.
Thank you, Mr. Bide, for that elaborate introduction. And as you have heard from him, we are interested once more in you staying young while growing old, thereby increasing your life expectancy. And as today's topic, we will be looking at emotional distress and mental health problems, a relationship point of view. So from here, I would like to ask you, Mr. Bide, as the relationship expert, what can we make of emotional distress and mental health problems when it comes to the relationship point of view?
All right, Mr. Clifford, thank you so much. I think a lot of people are actually confused. We'll talk about emotional distress and mental health issues. I'm glad that on this very podcast, I'm going to explain what emotional distress is and what mental health issues are. I'll begin with emotional distress. Emotional distress is simply an intense state of mind whereby somebody feels overwhelmed emotions of anger, sadness, anxiety, which is also often caused by the problems that they have in their relationships. Perhaps they have conflicts, they have misunderstanding, mistrust, and so on and so forth. That is the main, the primary definition of emotional distress. Now, when we talk about mental health is actually involves the social, the psychological, and emotional well-being of a person. It has to do with your brain, how a person feels, how a person thinks, and how a person behaves. So a lot of problems that we have in our society today is as a result of mental health. But a good number of people are ignorant about it because it has a way that it affects their daily activities and most especially their productivity in whatever they do. So basically that is what mental health and emotional distress is all about.
Thank you for this brilliant distinction between the two. Many people do not even know that they are going through one or two. Some people, when they are going through emotional distress, they think they are having mental problems. And others, when they are having mental problems, they think it is emotional distress. But I wish to find out from you, sir, is there any connection between emotional distress and mental health issues? Are they intertwined in some way?
All right, yes, there is a difference between mental health and emotional distress. I know a good number of people usually confuse what is mental health, what is emotional distress. All right, before I move into the difference or the connection between mental health and emotional distress, I'll first begin by outlining some of the elements of mental health and emotional distress so that people get to understand the differences. All right, we'll begin with mental health. Now, let me begin with emotional distress. Emotional distress, we have elements like anger, we have sadness, we have fear, we have anxiety. Now, when we go to mental health, we have elements like depression, we have anxiety disorder, we have elements like bipolar disorder, we have obsessive compulsive disorder, we have post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, I know these words are big, and many people will be like, what is this man talking about? I would like to break them down. Now, when we talk about something like bipolar disorder, which simply means that mood swings. There are people actually have mood swings. Sometimes, naturally, women have mood swings depending on their calendar, maybe a particular day in the month. But if someone has intense mood swing, either high or low, that person might be suffering from a mental disorder. If somebody is also suffering from, let me say, the person keeps on recounting unwanted experiences, unwanted flashback, they have things that have happened to the person, and this is happening constantly, that person might be suffering from obsessive compulsive disorder. So when you are actually suffering from all these things, when the duration is actually long, right, you actually find yourself in a mental health situation. Now, a good number of people will be confused between mental health and emotional disorder. What are the differences? Before even go into how are they connected?
True.
Differences first, the duration. We'll talk about emotional disorder. The duration is very short.
Okay.
For instance, if you want to go to school, let me say you want to go to school right now, and you ask her to start to prepare food, then she didn't. By the time you are leaving, you discover that there was no food for you to eat. You get angry, right?
That's true.
That is something temporal. You go to your work, maybe you go to school, it will not definitely affect your entire day. I get it. It will not affect your day. You meet other people, you interact with them, you do things normally. On the other hand, with mental health, it's something that is persistent. It means that it will affect your daily activity. It will affect your daily activity. You might not be effective like you used to be,
Yes.
because there's something that is making you to be perked up. There's something that is disturbing you continuously. That is mental health. Now, I've talked about the duration.
Yes.
The next thing is the severity.
Okay.
How severe it is. Most times with emotional distress, it is actually from mild to intense. However, it does not affect the person's daily activities.
Okay.
Now, we'll talk about mental health. It is a very strong, intense emotion that affects someone's daily activity, how the person operates, how the person functions. Sometimes the person cannot eat well. The person is constantly sad. Talk of the intensity or the severity of it. Now, talking about the impact it has. When we talk about emotional distress, the impact is mostly on the person's emotion. So it does not actually affect the entirety of the person. But when we talk about mental health, it affects the person's emotional, psychological, and social well-being. So it has to do with the person's brain, how the person thinks, how the person feels, and how the person behaves. So you see that when we are talking about emotional distress, it's not that intense like we'll talk about mental health. The last part I'd like to mention is the treatment. With emotional distress, you can easily get over it. Maybe you just need time to relax. You just need to talk to somebody and you feel relief.
Okay.
But when it comes to mental health, it goes beyond feeling relaxed. It goes beyond talking to somebody.
That's true.
You actually need a professional help because it's something that is affecting your current and it also affects your future. And if you don't handle it with diligence, there's a lot of things that will go wrong in your relationship, in your life. I'm talking about other parts of your life. So I think those are the four main elements that I can use to bring out the discrepancy between emotional distress and mental health issues.
Probably well understood. And now I am beginning to understand that majority of the people who cry heartbreak all the time and it stays weeks, probably months, they're not just undergoing emotional distress, they're having a mental health issue.
That is it. If you look at the way our world operates now, you realize that most young people get into relationship early, and because of the lack of knowledge on how to manage a relationship, they end up having several heartbreaks. Get it?
Yes.
Now, maybe it is the first time of that person to have a heartbreak. The person can feel emotional distress for a period of time, then later on recover, then goes into another relationship and encounter the same thing. Now, when it becomes recurrent, the person might end up having a mental health issue. That's why sometimes you hear people say, guys are scum, all guys are cheats.
Yeah.
No guy can be trusted. I get it.
Yes.
If you often hear people say words like that, it's very obvious they are undergoing some mental health issue. I get it. Now, because of a mental health issue that we are going through, they can no longer trust. Remember, I said with mental health, it affects your behavior. It affects the way you think. I get it, and it affects how you feel. And that is why a good number of relationships nowadays cannot work effectively, because people go into a relationship with a baggage. They go into a relationship with mental health issues that has not been dealt with. So when they go into a relationship, they see their partner like the person or their past experiences which they had. So I always advise that before you jump into another relationship after a breakup or a heartache, ensure that you healed. Because if you don't heal, you will be moving to another relationship with a mental health issue that will keep affecting your current relationship and maybe even your future relationship if nothing's done about it.
This healing period, like how long can this healing period take? Is there a particular time frame?
Well, there is no time frame. It depends on the individual. Okay. It depends on the individual. Most times there are people that let me say they are strong. They can easily deal with emotions. They can easily handle certain things when it happens to them. There are people who actually need to see a therapy, right?
Yes.
Now it depends on how affected they were and how effective the therapy is to actually diagnose what the problem is, then help them to get out of that problem. So a good number of people, I can say over 95%, they don't go for therapy. Get it? So they are working with mental health issues that is affecting their daily lives.
I'm sure this explains why the world is in so much chaos that it is nowadays. And when we look at what is happening, especially in the dating pool, it is becoming more and more chaotic on a daily basis. And with this, I'd like to ask you now, what are the common triggers for emotional distress in relationships?
All right. Before I go into the common triggers, I think there's a particular aspect that I have not answered pertaining to your question.
Yes.
Talking about the connectivity
between the two.
How is mental distress connected to how is emotional distress connected to mental health?
That's true.
Now, a question I might ask is emotional distress leading to mental health, or does mental health lead to emotional distress? Now that people already know the difference between emotional distress and mental health, I would say it is a bit of both. There are situations where emotional distress leads to mental health, and there are situations where mental health will lead to emotional distress.
Action. Now look at it.
Oh, okay.
Rolling under action.
And one of the few situations where mental health can lead to emotional distress is probably genetically inherited. For instance, there are people who inherit the trait of bipolar from their parents or foreparents,
Okay.
and because of that, it tends to affect the rest of their life. I believe this is just one of the instances I can cite that I know mental health issues can affect somebody emotionally or lead to emotional distress. Maybe you know other examples, or maybe our listeners and our followers know some other examples. Please do not forget to cite them in the comment section so that we too can learn from you. Yes, we continue,
All
sir.
right, just like you said, there are situations where it is actually genetic. You get it? Yeah, there's a situation where it is genetic. And there are also situations where it is not actually genetic. Like I was saying that emotional distress can lead to mental health.
Yes.
There, emotional distress is a cause to mental health issues. I get it. For instance, if you find yourself in a relationship where your partners keep on exhibiting certain behavior you don't like, maybe you are trying to change your partner and it is not working, it's frustrating you. If that happens for a very long period of time, it might definitely lead to mental health. So that is a situation where emotional distress is a cause to mental health issues. Now, in a situation where mental health leads to emotional distress, we actually term it as mental health as a symptoms, emotional distress as a symptoms of mental health. How do I explain this? If a particular, let me say, a particular lady is already experiencing mental health issues, then you happen to go into a relationship with that lady. Now, because of her mental health issue which has not been dealt with, there are certain things that she might be experiencing in the relationship. For instance, if the first guy cheated on her, the second guy also cheated on her, now she is with the third guy, you might not be cheating, but because of her existing mental health, she might always feel that you are cheating.
That's true.
In that situation, mental health, in that situation, since she's feeling that you are cheating, that aspect of worry will come in. I remember worry is an emotional distress.
Of course.
So in that case, emotional distress is a symptom of mental health issue.
That means to handle it, you need to treat the mental health.
Yes.
Then the emotional distress part will be taken care of.
Perfect. So intense emotional distress can actually lead to mental health issues. And when there is poor mental health issues, it can actually increase emotional distress. So that is the circle. So you can look at it like a circle. This can actually fit this, while the other one can also fit this other one.
Very interesting and very well explained. I want to believe everybody is learning something new, just as I am. And I want you to always leave your comments. If you have questions, do not forget to leave your questions. We will provide answers to your questions to the best of our abilities. So, ladies and gentlemen, we continue. And before you answered the interconnection between emotional distress and mental health, I asked what the common triggers for emotional distress in relationships are. And I think we should go back to that question.
Yeah, I think that question is very, very important, because if listeners get to understand some common triggers of emotional distress and maybe mental health, that actually leads to mental health. When you understand some of those things, when they are coming up, you can easily try to circumvent or avoid them, so that you actually manage your emotions and make sure that you are keeping your mental health in order. All right, I think the first one is communication breakdown.
Okay.
Most times you hear people say communication is the most important aspect in a relationship. Most people actually face issues with communication. Now, I want to look at communication in two perspectives. The first perspective is when there is lack of communication, and the other perspective is when there is lack of effective communication.
Thank you.
There is a difference between lack of communication and lack of effective communication. I'll take an example of lack of communication. Maybe your partner needs your attention, but that attention is not given, that person might begin to feel worried, feel frustrated. I guess
Yes, sir.
that is an aspect where communication breakdown can cause or can be a trigger to emotional distress. In the other hand, we have lack of effective communication. A good number of people think that when you communicate or talk to your partner constantly, then you are communicating. You can be talking to your partner constantly, maybe every day, every minute, but at the end of the day, you are not communicating. If that person does not understand what you are saying, if that person cannot empathize, then communication is actually not effective. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Now, talking about this, I'll look at two aspects of communication which actually lead to emotional distress. There are types of communication. Some people communicate passively, right? Passively simply means that they are actually disturbed about something, but they firmly refused to communicate or to express their opinion, their worries. I get it.
Yes.
They don't want to express it. In some cases, they are afraid that saying such thing might instead aggravate or stir up issues in their relationship. So to them, they will prefer to stay quiet. I know of abusive relationship where the lady is afraid to bring up certain things because she fears that the guy will be angry. So since she does not want the guy to be angry, she prefers to communicate passively. So in that case, you are actually keeping something within you, something that is eating you up. I get it. So it will definitely lead to emotional distress. Another one is aggressive communication. If you communicate aggressively, it can lead to emotional distress. Now, in that case, you are affecting your partner and perhaps yourself. Because if you communicate aggressively, like you are putting your point clearly. You are right, but the manner and the way in which you are putting your point might be hurting your partner. And if your partner is hurt, he or she might also react to that and cause you pain. So aggressive communication can also trigger or stir up emotional distress. That's the first one. All right, the next one is lack of trust. So in a situation where you find yourself in a relationship whereby you cannot trust your partner, you become worried. I'll just give an example. In my previous relationship, I had trust issues with my partner. So sometimes when she's out, or like maybe she was another person, maybe you understand.
Yes.
So things begin to run in your mind. And when I'm actually engaged in something serious, maybe I'm doing lesson notes, whatsoever, when it comes to my mind, I'm a bit disturbed. I get it. So trust issues also leads to emotional distress. The third one is infidelity and betrayal. Honestly, infidelity is the biggest form of betrayal. If you trust somebody and you think your partner is faithful, at the end of the day that person is unfaithful, or you come to realize that person is unfaithful, it will definitely disturb you. It will definitely lead to frustration. It will lead to anger. I get me.
Yes,
so
yes.
That particular behavior has actually stirred up emotional distress. We have financial stress. In our world of today, if you don't have money, sometimes it becomes difficult for you to even manage a relationship. So many people have put money at the center of a relationship. Now we are not just looking at dating relationship, we're also looking at marital relationship. Some couples often have problems in their marriage because of money. If you cannot pay bills and your wife is bringing other bills to you, you begin to feel worried. So sometimes it might even lead to conflict.
That's true.
So financial issues can also be a great trigger.
Very right.
Emotional distress.
I saw a post on X today where somebody said, why is it that a poor person is not always happy? Or why is it that a poor person cannot get a good wife? And somebody commented under that post that even the poor man himself is not happy. So getting a wife that will be happy with you in your poor state, it becomes very, very challenging. So financial stress or distress is real.
Yes, it's real. It's real. It's real. The truth is that money is not everything.
That's true.
as people always say. Money cannot actually, I don't say money cannot buy happiness. Money cannot buy happiness, but money is necessary.
Yes.
In a relationship.
Very necessary.
Sometimes with money, I was watching one podcast one time. The man was like, if I don't satisfy my woman, I'll give her I'll give her financial orgasm. you get it. So sometimes when there is money boosts romance. You cannot actually be romantic when you don't have finance. For instance, your friends are taking their girlfriend. Let's go for outing, go to the beach, let's go this way. And you don't have money to actually take your girl. You understand? Some of those things actually boost romance in a relationship. So when there is no finance in that relationship, it might actually trigger emotional distress.
I like this. It is increasingly becoming very, very difficult for people to sustain relationships without money. Because at the end of the day, even the wife who claims is not interested in money, or the partner who claims is not interested in money, will still bill you low key. And at one point in time, you will find yourself in a very, very difficult situation, which is always troublesome. In anything you do, have money.
Have money.
Yes, so we continue.
Money is very important. And the last one I would like to talk about is your work-life balance. Work-life balance is also one of the things that actually triggers emotional distress. Because some people go to work, they have all the time to work, they come back, they are tired, they don't have the time to connect to their partner and other like. Now, if their partner feels lonely or feels neglected, it might actually lead to emotional distress because it might stir up maybe anger, it might stir up conflicts and other like. Sometimes because of too much work, people tend to disconnect with your partner.
True.
So I would like to advise that you try to balance your work life and your social life, especially when it comes to your partner. Try to create that balance. It might not be easy, but it is very necessary.
Thank you. It might not be easy, but it is very necessary. You can always create the balance. You can work from Monday to Friday. You have Friday night, Saturday, Sunday to connect with your partner in another level. And when we say connect with your partner at another level, it does not mean stay in the house. You can take her out or take him out. We should go somewhere and have cool quality moment so you can recreate that connection, because that lack of connection between the two of you will lead to emotional distress. When it stays for long, it becomes a mental health issue which will affect both of you and your children in the near future. So take it while the sun shines. Mental health problems, we continue. Now, sir, when we look at the entire concept, relationship and every other thing, we are still looking at how these two parts, mental health issues and emotional distress, are connected. So what are the mental health problems stemming from relationship issues?
All right, when it comes to mental health, there are many things that can lead to mental health, but our focal point is about relationship.
Yes.
What is the role of relationship, or what role does relationship play when it comes to mental health? So if you look at some of the relationships we have nowadays, many people go into relationship when they lack knowledge. So oftentimes you have things like anxiety, you have things like depression in relationship. I get in it. Yes. So a good number of people have actually been in a relationship where the love is not reciprocal. Maybe one person is playing the other person. So in such a situation, you expect a partner or one of the partners to suffer from anxiety, suffer from depression. Now, not just talking about dating relationship, we also have marital relationship where one partner suffers from anxiety or depression due to the abusive nature of the other partner. So that is one of the mental health issues that we actually experience most at times in relationship. We also have attachment disorders. Just from talking about some couples maybe focusing so much on their work, on their job, and at the end of the day, they're unable to create that attachment with their partner. I get in it. Sometimes some people have this natural aspect in them where they cannot connect, they cannot bond with another person. So that is another aspect of emotional health that actually result from relationship. So we have post-traumatic stress disorders. Post-traumatic, there are situations where people are actually facing trauma constantly, right? Constantly. So if you keep on facing trauma constantly or find yourself in traumatic situation constantly, often resulting from relationships, right?
Yes.
You'll find yourself in a post-traumatic stress disorder. That's a mental health issue. And I think that is the three, basically those are the three that I will mention. I will know at the beginning of the session, I talk about obsessive compulsive disorder. But that one often results, often come as unwanted experiences that has occurred some time ago. So I cannot actually say that it's a cause of a current relationship. So the ones I've just listed are the ones related to current situation that someone might be facing in his or her current relationship.
Thank you very much, sir, for this elaborate illustration. And just to add to this mental health problems stemming from relationship, I have seen people who were doing well for themselves, and after a heartbreak, they were hit and sent to rock bottom. So many people after relationships, after breakups, after divorces, were not able to recover from such emotional
Let me
damage.
just tell you a short story.
Yes.
I was watching a program that was 2 weeks ago. One gospel artist from Nigeria, I've forgotten his name. He was actually narrating the story
Okay.
that after staying for a while without engaging in a relationship, so he decided to get into a relationship, and everything was moving on smoothly. At the end of the day, he had to break off from the lady. So the lady actually served him a good breakfast.
Wow.
I get it. So he said he became very traumatized in such a way that he could not do anything until the choir members had to enter into serious prayer and fasting for him to come back
Wow.
to his normal self. Just to tell you the intensity of traumatic situation, or how the mental health can destroy somebody entirely. Because at that particular spot or that particular state of mind, he was undergoing depression, serious depression, and he actually went further to even say that he has to go for therapy before he came back to his normal self. So we have to be very conscious with things like that.
Thank you for this life example, and there are so many other examples that we can always use to point out to you that it is not only relationship, there is something affecting people far beyond a heartbreak, and this goes a long way to affecting that person if care is not taken for the rest of their life. Some people get into being so abusive because of some relationships they have gone through, or some heartbreaks they have gone through. Others tend to learn from there and move on and become better, while some people are different, so they respond to it differently. So while you are out there planning to break up with somebody, planning to torture somebody in that relationship, always consider the fact that that person might not recover from that particular heartbreak, or might not recover from that particular trauma, and it will follow them for the rest of their life. And the amazing thing here is that it doesn't only follow them, it followed them plus the other people who did not even know about what happened to them. So be wary of what you do to people. It affects them in ways you cannot even imagine. And going back to the focus of this podcast, we are interested in you staying young while growing old, thereby increasing your life expectancy.